Peace and love, brothers and sisters. It is I, Noble Belmont from the illustrious Noble House of Belmont, and today is July 5th, 2975 of the Rebirth calendar, which is equivalent to your 2025 Gregorian calendar. And I'd like to say here, always, it is a beautiful time to be alive, and it's a beautiful time for those of you who never had the opportunity to learn about astrology, for you to be able to learn about it. But today in particular, I'm going to be speaking in regards to a branch of astrology that many of you may not be familiar with. And that branch of astrology I'm going to be talking about is called astrocartography. And now you may be wondering, what is astrocartography? Well, astro we know means the stars, and cartography means map. So when you put them together, it's the study of the stars on a map, or in regards to how the stars operate or affect certain locations on the map based off of your natal chart. And so this is something in particular that I'm really found about, because if I never learned about astrology, if I never learned about astrocartography, I really would have been blaming most of my situations in life on everything outside of me, instead of understanding that it's all within me. And since it's within me, I have the ability to utilize the understanding of astrology that I know and be able to apply it to my everyday life, and to be able to put myself in positions that's going to, help me overcome whatever obstacle that I may be going through. We all have a specific natal chart or natal signature, and so I highly recommend you to do the same in regards to getting your natal chart, and an astrologer who you feel comfortable with, ask them to help you understand your natal chart if you want to go that route. But also you can learn it yourself, like I have, by taking the time out and just doing some research, asking certain questions within Google, and then looking for information reference wise, so therefore I can make sure that I'm studying accordingly. Astrology, once again, is an art, so I highly recommend many of you to understand it from that position. And it's also, in my opinion, it's a religion, but we'll talk about that later. And I really just wanted to talk about this video in particular about, like I said, about astrocartography and the planet Pluto. I know I'm going to probably be doing a lot of rambling. I'm trying to be as authentic and open as possible, and I'm not going to do pretty much any type of real editing here. I'm just going to be as authentic, so therefore those of you who are going to be watching this in the future, you start feeling comfortable enough to do your own videos and things of that nature. So therefore you can see that as humans we make mistakes. So it's okay for you to make the mistakes, and eventually a day will come when you're going to correct those mistakes, and you're going to become more comfortable in regards to how you articulate yourself to presenting the information you come to know. So let's go ahead and talk about Pluto before we can talk about the Pluto and the Pluto Line in regards to astrocartography. Pluto, we know, is the planet of, let's say, transformation. They'll say death and rebirth. That's another way to knowing mass. But I'm definitely going to say the planet of transformation, deep, deep psychological transformation. And I had to learn to really appreciate Pluto for what he is, because it's not a comfortable planet to work with. It does bring you what you need in regards to stripping away the old you that doesn't, say, it doesn't fit your authentic self. It's versions of you that must be taken away, so therefore you can truly be who you're destined to be. And these transformations, they're not comfortable. I'm going to be honest, they're not comfortable. It can be very painful, and it's mostly an inner pain, inner transformation that takes place. So, and it's happening on a psychological level, mostly. So, and I know it's like one of those planets that causes you to go through, like I said, traumatic situations, for you to confront them. You know, it does make you better as time goes on. It's not like it's not something that happens quick or instantaneous. You got to go through the fire. And speaking about death and rebirth, it is which we're going to call the phoenix. So, like I said, the phoenix rising. Pluto is known as like I said, the phoenix, because of the death and rebirth version. You're gonna go through, especially if you're living on your Pluto line. Now, I was born near. I'm gonna say just close. I'm gonna say I'm born on my Pluto line, my Pluto MC. I have a grand cross in my chart. So, for those of you who understand how a grand cross operates, my life has been very challenging, and to live right next to my Pluto line, and not just my Pluto line, my Mars line. So my whole life has been nothing but traumatic battles. And the Pluto line is, once again, it's the MC, and my Mars line is the IC. So yeah, it's been one of those lives that I would highly say that I won't want too many people have to go through. It has been very tumultuous, how we want to say it. It's been very challenging. It's like where I live, every day is like I'm on a battlefield, and I psychologically gotta be able to deal with it, and then having to go home and then deal with it, and then go to work and deal with it, and then relationships and all this and that, having to deal with it, and I also have a first house, seventh house interception. So imagine that. So yeah, my life has been I would say it definitely creates strong character. But so before I get too off track with that, so those of you who are going to be either eventually traveling to a Pluto line, I'm not saying it's all bad, and I'm not going to say that you're not going to have some good times, because you're going to have some good moments. But let's just say a lot of those moments that you're going to have, again, eventually they're going to come crashing. Let's say you're having some good times, and then eventually, like, this sense of doom and gloom just like come crashing down on you. And it may not happen to everyone. I'm just explaining my experience with it, because I've been living here my whole entire life. I have experienced and seen a lot of death in my life. Family, inner circle, stuff like that. It's just been a lot. Like they say, Pluto lines is not something you want to be on long term, especially if you're not born there. Like I say, I'm natively from this, so it's almost like I was created to handle this. I was literally birthed through this. In this case, we say birthed in the ashes, and been staying in the ashes, but I come and gone. Because I've traveled, which I can explain about the energy that you feel once you leave a Pluto line. So like I said, I've traveled all over the country. I've lived in the islands. I've lived in the West Coast. I lived in the East. I lived in the South. And we talk about the continental U.S. And I can definitely say that once you leave here, that it's almost like that sigh of relief, like it's like a big heavy pressure and weight just coming up off of you. And this is definitely something that I'm looking forward to continue to experience, removing off of myself. Not, like I said, the Plutonian death and rebirth, but the sigh of relief after I've learned the lessons that Pluto, especially when you're on your Pluto line, is going to have you go through. So, like for instance, me being on my Pluto MC line, and since it's dealing with the death, rebirth, or transformation, and it's the MC, and I have Pluto natally in my MC, so this is like, it was karmic. I had to do this, but all of my jobs I experienced were I now work many jobs. That was part of that Pluto in the MC. You're going to work a lot of different jobs. I've worked a lot of different jobs at an early age, you know, and so I know a lot. I know a lot of things, and then I have Pluto in Scorpio, so that's another, because I'm part of that Pluto Scorpio generation. So that being in my MC, my midheaven, my whole focus, or technically my whole life, is going to be like behind the scenes, dealing with, like said, the unknown world, the occult, and like as you can see right now, like astrology, things of that nature, but on the, what can I say, but more on the deeper subconscious level, you know, so to speak, like a psychological level, excuse me. And also too, I deal with like knowledge and wisdom, with like history, ancient history, like I said, things that have been buried. So that's another thing to talk about, like Pluto. Pluto deals with things that have been buried underneath the soil. Like I said, and the things that's underneath the soil is resources. So that's another thing I want to explain about Pluto. Pluto is just not the planet of, you know, death and rebirth, but it's also known as the planet of wealth. You know, because a lot of wealth, a lot of gold, precious metals, and things of that nature, they're underneath the soil. So you gotta be willing to go and get dirty for you to find some good. And in this case, being in an MC, and me living here on my MC line, I've been able to uncover a lot of good information regarding history, like I said, regarding, like I said, psychology, dealing with, like I said, a lot of mysteries in regards to, like I said, the occult earlier. So, and then investigation, things like that, research. So I'm very good at that. Genealogy, I'm very good at all of these things. But once that's that Pluto part of life that I have been able to experience, and since I've been living here my whole entire life, it's almost like I don't really know anything different besides this type of heaviness and constant battle back and forth. So it's not something I'm saying that I want to continue to keep going through, because I definitely don't, but it's something that I was born into, and since I was born into it, it fashioned me to be like this, to know and see things that a lot of other folks don't see. But now, like they say, once you learn your lessons, been on the Plutonian or Pluto line, you actually can go. It releases you, but you have to build a plan and be willing to make sure you do what's required, so therefore you don't get pulled back into a whole nother cycle of, you know, death and rebirth, because like I said, it is painful, it is psychological, and a lot of the nature, but you're going to go through it nevertheless. So with that being said, once again, brothers and sisters, thank you for checking out the Noble House of Belmont. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be talking more about, like I said, astrocartography, astrology, as well as dealing with other occult information that I like